The thing that I like about Judd Apatow's comedies is they feel collaborative to me. As a viewer, as I watch them, they feel collaborative to me, and they feel natural to me. They don't feel like people are reaching out and grabbing the jokes. It does feel to me like the jokes happen kind of organically. They feel different than some other comedies. Is he a different kind of director to work with than you have maybe worked with before?
Well, we're not really, I mean, we're considered the Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill of the East Coast. We don't really do that much. We're more stand-up guys.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, he definitely, I mean, everybody says he is, and for us, it's a dream because he lets you play.
Yeah. Well, but you're doing a one-man show, and then you've got a director, presumably, right? So, but it's
I got a director named Jerry
Seinfeld. Yeah.
More of a director, more like a, you know, yeah. He's he's more of a Stalin-esque director. That's the name.
How do you get to the set? Does he pick you up and you maybe get a cup of coffee?
What do you mean? Well, the best was on my last show. Jerry, one time he wanted to get in from the Ham. He's in the Hamptons in the middle of the summer also. So he's like, I got to get in. Because he gets obsessed with stuff. This is almost like OCD. Next thing you know, there's no way you're going to get in. He choppered in for rehearsal.
Always.
For rehearsal. He's the greatest. It's not even his show. It's just him directing me. He chop it in. So that was badass.
That's my idea for a show. Comics in helicopters drinking Snapple.
Listen, you know, but that could
cross promotion. Snapple.
Is that going to blow your mind, or when you hear stuff like that, or is it just going to it's Jerry?
Yeah, that doesn't blow my mind, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty badass.
You know, Jerry is like one of the classic joke writers, and that's like when, you know, we were talking about this movie, and you know, I always like when you get to do something, and I've been in like 3 movies, and this movie I would have to say was probably the most fun because, you know, you show up and they want you to do something, and then you kind of riff around and you kind of like go for the jokes. And you keep going until you kind of feel like you got it, or until they have to move on to the next scene. And I love that, especially for people who aren't like necessarily classically trained actors. That's the best way to go. And this is the closest character I've ever played of the 4 characters that I've ever played in movies that is so much like me, I think. So
the homeless guy on the street?
Yeah, the homeless guy on the street.
He said that's him in 5 years.
That's me in 5 years. That's me after the last season of Last Comic Standing. Broken physically and emotionally.
Is there a great deal of improv on these sets or no?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I mean, line-wise, Judge just throws out his lines, lets you throw out your lines. He just plays. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, for comedians, that's all we care about almost. It's so, to us, it's so much about, you know, a lot of people, it's not about the lines with actors, you know, it's about the behavior. But for us, it's also about the words.
Yeah.
We love it, you know what I mean? So if you come up with something funny in there, and you can just feel quiet behind the camera, and then when they go cut, and everyone starts laughing. Right?
Yeah, that's the best.
That's the best for us, you know.
Well, it's funny. I saw you at the Comedy Cellar last year, and it was an unannounced set. You just showed up and said, "Hey, I got some stuff," and you had a notebook, and you came up.
Even my announced sets are like that, but yeah.
But it was cool. But it was cool though, because it was clear. Because I got to see something there I don't get to see very often, which is somebody really working out material. Right. Typically, when I go see stuff, you know, it's done.
Right.
It's a show.
Right.
And it was really cool to see, and the set worked. But I could see the gears turning in your head, and it was a cool glimpse into what you guys do on a daily way. And when you said it's about the words, I really got that sense.
Yeah, and it's so funny because in a lot of things it's not about the words, but with stand up it's so much about the order of the words too, and we have to do it that way. It's the one field, like I feel like more than any other art form, whatever. It's the audience matters so much, and you have this contentious relationship with them. But they're such a part of it, more than any other. I feel like the musicians, they get in the room and they jam together with each other. We need the crowd to jam.
You did, yeah.
To rehearse. We need the crowd to rehearse.
My reaction, because I'm not a stand-up, would be get the hell off the stage. Right. Get out of there right now. If it's not working, go. Right. But you guys don't think that way, right?
No.
No, I see it as, you know, I have this thing where it's like 3 jokes in. If they didn't like I always try and do the new jokes up top, which is a mistake for any of the young comics. Never do the newest material up top. Right. But I did it selfishly, so when I have to listen to my horrible tape, at least I can hear the new joke, and I can do the rest of that horrible. I hate it. So by the third joke, if they're not like rolling with me, then it's like attack mode. Then it's like, now it's a knife fight, and that's not the way to be. Okay,
Right.
That's not the way to be.
that's not the way to be. But no, like I consider Colin kind of like the maker in vampire terms. He's like the maker. I used to watch him all the time, and just like where he would take it and the tangents he'd go, and his ability to think fast on stage. And I think that's like that is like the best example of what like the New York comedy scene is at its best, and Colin was like the master of that. So like the rest of us kind of like all are kind of echo on that, and that's the cool thing about a live show is that like when it's not going well, like you said, you still have to do the job, and that's what makes it a job, But that's also sometimes where you come up like the most enlightening stuff, in like the tough crowd moment.
Have you ever figured out why? I mean, it's the audience, I guess, but why you can do this essentially the same set 2 nights in a row and it kills one night and not the next?
Yeah, it's either the audience. Sometimes you'll say one word differently that just changes the intro to it.
Right.
Sometimes somebody who was on before you talked about a similar thing, or the vibe changed. And it's in culture. Sometimes it's a day like if you went up and said Caitlyn Jenner the day after it happened, people are laughing already, like oh.
Yeah, then they're taught.
And now if you said it, it'd be like, oh, what's the joke?
Yeah.
What
do you think about your pal Jerry's comment about playing colleges and it's just too PC and they're
it's been like that for 20 years.
So it hasn't changed, right?
It's gotten, if anything, it's gotten worse.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't even imagine what college was like, because 20 years ago they were the way, but the rest of the country's got more PC. Like it wouldn't bother me because people are like, well, we're allowed to laugh. Fine. People go, we're allowed to be offended by stuff. But you're not offended by the thought, you're offended by the actual words. And once again, it's depending on who's saying it. So it's like, it's just part of the whole culture, but what are you going to do?
It's tough for me because I was voted funniest guy at the NACA convention. It's the college convention.
I lost more money at that NACA convention.
I know, yeah. It's like a Ponzi scheme where like you pay to go in the college bookers, all these kids will come see you, and then like you're up against like a magician and a faith healer, and like like I was born with 9 arms, but look at me, I'm tap dancing.
I went on at the college convention, and it was right before Dan Cook broke.
Oh,
he went on after me. Literally, I bombed so bad, he killed so hard. He got 40 colleges. The guys that were sponsoring my booth literally didn't even tell me, hey, go to your booth and see if anyone comes over. They didn't even bother. That's how bad it was.
Even high schools would not touch him. Let me say one thing about the colleges now. Like for the comic, a college gig is difficult because of like it used to be like, well, they can't relate because like they haven't failed at anything yet.
Right.
But they're raised differently, and like we call it PC, which is stupid because it really is. That's how they've been raised. That's how we wanted them raised. They have a lot of their own pressures, and that's how they're taught. And the sad of it is like they're not better comedy fans because they still laugh at the silliest, corniest bit. That the one that you, as a comic, are like, I hate telling it, but I gotta say something, and I need a laugh. So like they still laugh at that stuff, but everything else is like a judgment or a groan or like just like basically indifference if you're lucky. So we're going to college now. You have to sign like a waiver, like like I will not say this and this and this.
Right.
It's like college is now like checking into the world's most boring hotel. Like I promise not to have a party. I promise not to use this word. I promise not to get too drunk. And if I do get drunk, I'll make sure I get home. It's like boring.
Well, I wonder, with all that in mind, your character, the homeless character that you play in the thing, I love near the end, and this doesn't give it any away, she gives you a box.
Yes.
And the line, right, it's booze, drugs, and a place to live. So funny, right? So funny. But the idea of it, I mean, it could be construed, I guess, maybe in a new PC culture as sort of poking fun at people.
Right. I think it does.
Right?
But yeah, I would say that my character, I like to think he's a composite of a lot of different types of. Because to be honest, and he'll back me up on this, have you been to New York yet? I'm sure it's the same thing in Toronto now. The panhandler is way different. Where like it used to be, here's some change or a cigarette, and then they shuffle off.
Yeah.
Now they want a conversation. If you're talking about something, they come in and randomly like interject in your conversation. A lot of them are self-promoters. Some of them are, can I say it, cock blocks. And like you'd be talking to a girl outside, and all of a sudden like, hey, what's happening? It's like I was just the guy who gave you. So now what I do, instead of like when they go like, I can pay for the cigarette, I'll go, I don't want any money. I just want a minute of your time. And then I pull out a very tiny Bible, and then I start.
But do you understand? here's why he's a genius. Because I've been watching homeless people my whole life, and I never realized that is the new homeless thing. They interject themselves in the conversation. It's hilarious.
It's the third wheel.
And the
third wheel.
But even before the cock block, they interject. I've been looking at homeless people my whole life. I have also homeless jokes. That's brilliant.
Oh, thanks.
Damn it.
Coming from him, that's very cool.
And that's what you say in comedy when somebody relays something, you go, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Because it was right there.
Fallon says that he thinks you're going to get nominated for an Academy Award.
Wow.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, why not? I wasn't really expecting one, but I was kind of, Academy Award wouldn't even affect me, to be honest, because after I didn't get nominated for Grown Ups too, I feel like it's a rigged game. That's how I feel.
It's a rigged game.